welcome to my video. I'm Jennifer Roberts. You're catching me on my YouTube channel, True Divine 44. You can also catch me on my Facebook page, True Divine, and it is the True Divine for both Instagram and Twitter. And he likes, shares, subscribes, follows, comments most importantly. I love the comments, as you know. Please do so. It all helps support what I'm trying to do. It helps grow what I'm trying to do. I put out as much free content as I can to help support, guide and inspire those who are in need of it or are in want of it, and just to connect with more of you, make more connections regarding spiritual truths and growth and expansion. So I put out as much of that as I can. This is part of the daily energy reading that I do. That's combined with tarot to bring you a narrative of the day to help you navigate it in the best way possible, to get the most out of your day, to get the most out of yourselves, or maybe understand the challenging aspects of certain days that we all have and the energies that we encounter within ourselves within those challenging days, and the energies that we encounter within others within those challenging days, and of course from the wider stage. So I just want to put something out there in that there's something going on. It's come to my attention and this happens. I was warned by a few people about this being a difficult thing to do, to come out to the public, to put out videos, that you will get attacked in one way or the other, even when you don't deserve to be so. So I was warned by somebody who I respect in the industry of that. But it's happened, and so there's messages and tittle tattle gossip going on, with the true narrative not being reflected at all. And so if you have any questions or people are approaching you regarding me, try and judge me. Well, don't judge me at all, but try and think of me as the way that I've treated you personally. What is your personal experience You can't have these two worlds meet. Um, and so you can juggle, and you're doing it with style, and you've been doing it for a long time very successfully. But um, that can't last. We can't keep juggling. We get tired, the arms get heavy. So eventually, if you don't choose to be brave enough to concentrate on one world, on one reality that you really want to achieve, or that you know you have to achieve right now, it's part of your soul's journey, it's part of what you came here to do, then you need to be brave enough now to make that decision before the decision's taken out of your hands, your arms get fatigued, and you can't juggle anymore, and you end up colliding both worlds. So it's time to start thinking of it like that now. That fear of committing, that fear of commitment, even in a relationship, if that resonates with you, and you're juggling, either single life or another partner, and you're juggling two partners, eventually those two worlds will meet, or those two worlds will absolutely collide, because you're not being brave enough to stop the juggling and look at these two worlds and know and choose and be committed to what reality you want to create. Whether that is in a job, whether that is in a business, whether that is in a relationship, because it is pentacles, it's in your material reality and the people around you. So however these worlds resonate with you, whatever these two worlds are that are so opposite to each other, there needs to be some compromise here. There needs to be some focus and true non-diluted intent here, and to that, getting rid of that fear and having that bravery to commit to one reality. um, the joke is that when we do that, we get stuck in this juggling mode sometimes, and sometimes it's essential to juggle. When you're just setting up business, and say you're a single mom or dad, um, you have to juggle finances to just manage to put in enough to make more, for products and services and websites and things like that. So it's essential that we do embrace juggling every now and again in this material reality that we're living in. It's, we've got to sometimes to get ahead, to get to the Three of Pentacles, where we can start collaborating with others, have teams, have teamwork. So the two of Pentacles is very essential in a lot of ways. But again, like anything, like any energy, we can get really stuck in the juggling mode, and eventually it comes crashing down, because we can't keep juggling. We get fatigued. So eventually we either have to have the wisdom to do what we need to do before crisis point. And that's another thing we do so easily, isn't it? We maintain and sustain out of fear of commitment for whatever that is. But then, and we get ourselves in such a state that we feel then we get stuck in whatever energy it is. And it's as if we can only, a lot of the times we've been so trained and ingrained to only act at crisis point, i.e. war, or school shutting down, so then we'll get involved as parents, or anything that it might be. We often rely on this thing that we've got, that we can only sort of really act and throw ourselves in at crisis point. The wisdom is to act before crisis point, to see the potential crisis point and act before it. Now, the crisis point for you, if this resonates with you, is that you continue to stay out of fear in this juggling mode, and you end up crushing both of these worlds, both of these aspects of your material reality. So to act in hindsight, to act in advance with foresight, with this reading, to make that commitment, to get rid of that fear of doing so, fear of failure, because we often stay in the juggling mode because we're fearful that we fail, so we want like a second option. And sometimes in certain circumstances, for personal readings, that can be good, that can be wise, i.e. building business while learning some other courses that you can fall back on to get another job if you need to. Don't, things like that. So it's not to write anything off or throw any baby out with any bathwater. It is to know the wisdom and the energy of the cards and the day, the energy of the day. And the energy of today is to not be fearful, to not act in fear, to act with intent and with commitment. And so to clarify the Two of Pentacles, we've got the Major Arcana. Again, number 5. So there's a choice point. You're on the hump day. This is hump day. So happy hump day, but you're on the hump day in that you're at the number 5. If we look at the cycles of 10 in the tarot, 10 being a completion, 1 being the initial start of the journey. So on 5, we're right in the middle, we're right at the top of the hill, looking over the precipice. Now we can try and divide ourselves and roll down either side of that hill. Impossible. And if it is possible, it's never as successful as us looking at our highest point in that hill, and looking and being able to see more and feel more, if we just tune into self and be able to truly see the potentials of both sides of the hill. So we don't die on top of it, we don't stay in the middle juggling, and we can't separate ourselves very successfully at all to roll down either side of the hill. So the wisdom in this card is to see the horizon at its widest point, where the highest point in the hill where you can see more, feel it out, but then make the commitment to roll down one side and go for it, hell for leather. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And so the Hierophant, he brings in the knowledge of the realities that we're living in, but also he represents the different layers of knowledge. So he represents the exoteric, the esoteric. So the esoteric being the internal divinity, the secret hidden knowledge that the esoteric sort of covets, the occult type of knowledge. We've got the exoteric, which means the more public, the more outward knowledge, the more widely known, the things that people know about you on the outside rather than things that you haven't shown to them that's on the inside of you. And then we've got the mesoteric. And so looking at both the fact that the mesoteric is that we know a lot about a lot, but a little about one thing, in that it is a lot of widespread knowledge, but it's been dissected and divided in a way that it's the jack of all trades, master of none. And so that's exactly what's happened. So let's look at the wider stage first, because this is very impactful for today, in that the mesoteric being this divided up knowledge, in that there's lots of us that know a lot, but through very clever psychological division, causing the race wars, causing the difference, the stark difference in between poverty and riches, the doors that open, the stark difference of doors that open when you are of a family name or have already been born into power, than just going through a public school. And so there's been a very clever way to make sure that, yeah, it's okay, we actually get more out of them when they're a little bit spiritually aligned, when they know a little bit about their own power. They're a much better workforce. But it's important to do this very clever divisional, psychological divisional tactic that is then manifested into our reality. And a lot of us, believe that we are better than another color, or that we are better than another culture, or that we are better than uh, because we've been to a certain school with a certain title than the person who went to another school but got the same grades. It's like that is ingrained in us all right now, and it's our responsibility today to choose with intent, going back to the Two of Pentacles, to strip ourselves bare of division. It doesn't exist. There's natural division. There's natural difference rather than division, and that works because we can all bring something to the table in our individual selves, with our individual slant on the same knowledge even. But this division of not being able to come together from different cultures in masses, that it's the odd one out that doesn't, to really believe about the depth of division that is here, that's been man-made, it's been manipulated, and it's been scientifically so precisely put into our consciousness, put into the collective. Why? Because then it keeps a few very abusive powers that be in charge of a squabbling mass of beautiful individual differences, but a collective of the same human family. we're here together, and we came here together to do something. And so it's to open our mind up to the real psyop of that division is, and to strip ourselves. It's all of our individual responsibilities, to strip ourselves bare of the cords that would feed into us believing in this division, believing in us being either better than another or them being better than us, into this victim mentality that's caused by division. Also, there's going to have to be lines drawn in the sand, and ego is going to have to put away. If we don't want to create a reality which is going to be very abusive, continuing to get away with what is getting away with now, the abuses on our children, then we are going to have some uncomfortable moments of our own, through our own complacency, where we have built up any kind of divisional mind, any kind mindset, any kind of ego that is so inflamed that it actually goes to speak to the division that we feel is so real. It is our individual responsibility right now, and it has a direct impact on what we can do for these children that have been abused over the years, the now adults that were children, that were so terribly abused by the corrupt powers that be. It is our individual responsibility right now. We say we care so much, then we need to do some of the most uncomfortable things that there are to do, and that is to really look at ourselves, to look at ourselves through the lens of the loving mother that will tell us when our ego is being inflamed, to look at ourselves and recognize that we have been hijacked, we have been fooled, we've allowed our mind to be hijacked, and of course we feel foolish when we do that, be a little bit uncomfortable, because there's a lot of children that are much more uncomfortable right now. Just keep reminding yourself of that every time you want to pull out of doing this inner work that is uncomfortable to do, yes, but nowhere near as uncomfortable as the discomfort and abuse that some of the children are feeling right now, or the then children, which are now adults right now. And so, and I'm here to help anybody that's willing to do that, and I'm guiding and pointing in the right direction and support. So just putting that out there. So we've got that, and what that would do is then we're bringing without division being in place, then we are able to come together and collaborate, and actually the pieces of the jigsaw of knowledge, of our true selves, of our true powers, our divinity and sovereignty, and anything that is divine and sovereign is not going to want to harm children. And so when we're doing that, we really are having a direct impact. And so then that somebody else will have that missing piece of the jigsaw of knowledge, and we're able to exchange that, not just exchange that one-to-one, but exchange that worldwide to the masses, because there's no ego in it. Nobody's saying, I know more than you, I'm better than you, I'm higher than you, you're lower than me, and nobody's saying that. There's a true ability to connect to the all and feel connected to the all, to know that you are an individual, a beautiful, powerful being as an individual that can bring something to your all, to your other counterparts. So even to the point of petty differences. I stood up for myself earlier in this video. I really don't hold any hate. I really don't cast any hate, because I won't put myself there. I can even understand from other people's perspectives that might attack where their mindset is, and try and understand that and be understanding towards it. Not being a sacrificial lamb, but I'm certainly not allowing it to divide me from even more people. And it was disappointing at the time when other people seemed to be enjoying the videos so much, but has divided themselves from it. That's upsetting, but again, I'm not going to feed into that, because I'm not going to, I don't want to be divided. So it's to take away this division, because then knowledge can be shared widespread, and without the ego being so inflamed and in the way and bouncing anything off that might fill up your jigsaw puzzle, the missing pieces that you need of information, of knowing, of strength, then your ego is bouncing them off before they can get to you. through division. So I hope I've made sense of that. So then we're taking it then to the esoteric. And so we take it to the esoteric then, and because we've done the work to get rid of the inflamed ego that was fed through division, and through hierarchy and labels and all of that, then at that point it's not so hidden, because people are showing true wisdom, that they are careful hands. They are hands that are out of just sharing and being connected to the all, to hold joint wisdom, joint deep, deep knowledge, that they can truly understand, because they've showed the wisdom enough to break through this psychological warfare and get to the point of not wanting division and not being divided themselves. So then that knowledge that can really power up our DNA, power up our true capabilities, and really raise the frequency of the reality that we live in, the Two of Pentacles, choosing those realities by the actions that we do today, then we can absolutely share that knowledge much more widespread and have it put to good use in a much more widespread way. Because you better believe some of this secret knowledge that's been hijacked and coveted by the powers that be, they're not using it for good. But it's our knowledge, it's our codes, it's the life codes that make up the power of attraction and things like that. But they do it to times 1,000,000, because the real knowledge, the keys that unlock that, the processes, the ceremonies that unlock that, have been locked away so long by these powers that be, and then just it gets diluted into this divisional world. So even though there's people speaking truth and giving you the codes, the ceremony, the order that things come in order to break through a certain switching on of self, a leveling up, an ascension, then it doesn't really matter to the powers that be too much, because it gets lost in the wind. It never makes enough impact. Or this person that's bringing this secret, hidden, occult knowledge into the collective is labeled the way the conspiracy theorists were labeled, as tinfoil hats, as people not to listen to, and you're silly if you do so. And so it's difficult to bring this knowledge in and have this wisdom and be brave at the top of your hill, to choose with intent where you're going to go, to speak out. But now is the time to do it. Now is the time. We have to do it now. If we look at what's going on in the collective stage, there's a power grab. And so you better believe that we need to be, as a collective, collectively together, in order to bring in a reality that really is good for the collective, that really does have love in its center, balance in its center, that we really are working from that 0 point, without any of the veils and psyopses and psychological warfares and physical things that hold us back in the way, that we can actually see clearly at the top of this hill where we need to go. So I hope that covers that, because as the collective stage, it's pretty deep. It takes a bit of understanding, so I hope I've made sense of it, as much sense as it made up here. As to how much it made it here, I don't know, let me know. So to bring that into your individual life, it's asking you to, because right now you might be in a place where you've been through the ringer, where you have been able to learn some huge lessons, to be able to really level up in a lot of ways, because of these spiritual lessons that have caused you to have strength, that have caused you to have knowledge regarding things that because you've gone through things, you've been through the ringer. But it's this missing point of this continuous juggling, in that you're losing. You might have a lot of knowledge within, you might have learned a lot, but the Hierophant wants to translate those lessons and give you the energy to translate those lessons, by, have you learned how to implement them in your reality? You might be holding the knowledge that you are strong, you're an individual, you won't have anybody hijack your thoughts or your direction, but are you really applying that in your daily life with the people around you? Are you really applying that within self? Are you holding yourself accountable to the knowledge that you've actually gained from the past? The danger is that we fool ourselves that we've got this knowledge, and it's not fooling at all, because we've learned, we really can see in hindsight where we went wrong, where the manipulation was, maybe. We can do all of that. But the next step is, with the energy of the Hierophant, the high priest, is to actually apply that to yourself. And it seems like a lot of people are struggling to do that because they're still juggling. And because if they were able to apply that knowledge of, you can't divide yourself, you can't please everybody, of knowing that this is your soul's path, of knowing that you came here to do a job, of knowing that you need to be brave and need to stand firm, of knowing all of that, but then being afraid of judgment, being afraid of not making it, that fear that keeps you in the juggling motion. Are you really applying that knowledge to your life, and are you doing it with intent? Because if you were doing so, it feels like you would have stopped juggling by now, and you would be over the brow of the hill in either direction to commit to a reality that you want to really bring in, that you have dreamt about bringing in, that you still dream about bringing in, and a reality that really does resonate with you, that you don't feel alone in a full room in both worlds, that you know you belong. And so the third card being the Queen of Cups. So this water queen, the queen of emotions, in that she is wise where she puts her emotions. She is wise where she places that love, that compassion. And it's not that she's not a compassionate being, she is. She's compassionate enough to be compassionate to herself also. And so she's being wise enough to know that right now it is about having the self-control over emotions and not having others trigger your emotions, be choosing to not be upset by other people, other things outside of self, choosing to not allow herself to drown in a river of tears over anything right now, because she knows that there's a job to be done, and that her emotions have to be balanced and her emotions have to be whole to go forward and really make a huge difference in her life and everybody around her. And so she knows that she's trying to translate these psychic abilities that she has, this instinctive insight that she has with her intuition. She's so connected to the waters within, those feminine waters that are full of intuition. And so she's plotting her way, so she's translating these psychic knowings, these intuitions, into the physical reality. Now this is the Messenger, the Page of Pentacles. So again, just like yesterday, it's all about applying the spiritual knowledge, the intuitive knowledge, into the physical reality right now, which makes sense because we are in a time of change. We are in a time of determining how our reality looks, not only for us, but our children and our children's children. And it is a serious time. We'll look back at this in history and know that were on the brow of a hill. What did we do? Did we do enough? Did we do our part to make sure that it was a reality that was a lot more fair than this reality can be to people who are hidden? We don't hear their voices as much as we should. And so she knows there's more important work at play here. But to do that, she just has to reflect a life for herself that is whole, that is intuitive and instinctive. And so she's using these intuitive, instinctive, gut feeling powers that she has to plot a course, send the right messages out into the collective, into the physical reality, the 3D reality that surrounds her. And so she's being very careful to make sure that she doesn't act out of fear, that emotion of fear. She doesn't act out of upset or being upset by outside forces even. She's in absolute control of her emotions, and right now she's putting a lid on them. in order to really channel those waters. She doesn't want any tears coming out right now. She wants to really channel and stir up those waters within to create a real impact in this physical reality, to really do a lot of what she came here to do in the first place. Now, whether you're male or female, this goes for both. We all have a predominant amount of water than anything else in our body. That divine waters that run through both male and female. It's the yin and the yang, but we need to be able to both dig in to those intuitive, instinctive things. If you feel like your intuition is a bit off, if you feel like you aren't able to connect much, don't stress over it, but do the work. Do the work like the Queen of Cups does. She does the meditation. She digs deep into her emotions. She's not afraid of facing them. Take the time to do that. It really will do wonders for your physical reality. Also, if you might find that you have somebody around you that has legitimately come around you, been attracted to come around you in order to guide you with their instinct, with their intuition, while yours is that's maybe not your strongest point. Maybe that it's not something that you enjoy relying on right now, you haven't gotten used to it, then you've attracted in, maybe take note of somebody who has given you instinctive, intuitive advice, gut feelings. Don't write those off. They've come to you for a reason if this resonates with you. And so, again, having that wisdom and that knowledge to know that the inner grounds will ultimately reflect our outer reality. And where it doesn't, where we are getting attacked, collectively, we're all individually, one way or the other, facing something, especially if you're sticking your head above the pulpit to speak your truth. It's about navigating that in a way to stand your ground, speak your truth, but don't let it take you off your course, and don't feed too much energy into it, and don't let it zap you of the energy that you need to take you forward. And certainly don't give anybody that's just attacking you out of the blue, or because you're a light and they're trying to dim that light because they're of a different frequency. Certainly don't let it take you off your course at all. On the bottom of the deck, we've got the Six of Swords. So this is speaking to going into calmer waters, going into a calmer horizon, but it's speaking to travel into that horizon. So again, going back to the Two of Pentacles, to choose now with intent. Or there's a time that you're going to get yourself stuck in another cycle, that you might find that you struggle again because you were meant to move into your different world, into your different reality, and through fear, through manipulation, you didn't do it. And so there is a time that if you don't make these decisions, or at least somehow make the steps to make these decisions, to put the intent out there into the collective of what you intend even, there's a cycle that a lot of you might not want to get stuck in. And I'm just speaking very plainly today. That's the energy of today. But you don't want to get stuck in this energy. So if that helps lift you out of fear at all, be more fearful about being stuck. Not fearful, but if it's a means to an end, do so. If it stops you getting stuck in a reality that doesn't match with you any longer, that doesn't take you forward the way that it should. The World on the bottom of the other deck, again, this came up yesterday. This is the time. You're at this point, you're at this judgment point, this second chance to choose. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Don't procrastinate. Do whatever it takes to put your intent out there, even if you can't physically draw everything in that you need to draw in, or that you're wanting to draw in. It's the intent and making that decision, reaching out and grabbing it for all it's worth to make that decision. As much as you can today. Hopefully you started doing it yesterday, but as much as you can today, make that intent, make that conscious decision of what direction you're going to go in and concentrate on, and not dilute yourself by still continuing to try and juggle, because ultimately then the choice will be made for you. and the others around you that you know, if this resonates with you, or the business, whatever it is that you've instinctively known you needed to get away from, they're going to make the choice for you. So that's how you'll get stuck in a cycle, even if that's to the collective stage. If we don't speak our truths now, literally it's speak now or forever hold your peace, or for a very long time, let's say, hold your peace. This kind of patriarchal system, abusive patriarchal system, has been in place a long time, and we're at a